This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Oh, wait till you get a load of this one. Check out the trailer. And again, this is just every day, right? This is what I'm showing you. Every day there's some new show coming out, right? All of these, Hollywood producers, everybody out there is atheists. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in the Bible. They don't believe in the Antichrist, right? They are constantly referencing this stuff day in and day out. And I'm showing you this day in and day out so you see, especially if you're someone out there who's not a believer. And ask yourself, why are they constantly doing this? Why are they constantly showing this? Why are they constantly mocking God, right? Take a look at this trailer for this new show on Amazon. It is unbelievable. We have to work together. Don't fight for the war to end everything.
So we know it. The end of the world. It's not far.
This is quite interesting. The foremost main apocalypse against Southern war, pollution, famine, death.
We'll take this on.
Not my department.
You're sure? I'm not lying to you. You're a demon. That's what you do. Doesn't have to be.
Of course there does. Otherwise, how would we win it?
I mean, just another day, right? Another one of these things. By the way, I'm not sure if anyone out there noticed in the clips that were shown. Oh, look at that. There's some black and white, of course, Masonic tiles in there. But hey, I'm just making it up. They're not using it in every single thing. And it has nothing to do with Freemasonry. They're wonderful people, right? Wink, wink. Give me a break. Okay, the plot of this, which is just absolutely unbelievable, it's just more of a way to water down and make the Antichrist look like a hero, right? A good angel and a bad angel come down from heaven and come together, right? Not down from heaven. Good angel comes from heaven, the bad angel comes from hell. They meet up, and they have to work together to find the Antichrist, because the Antichrist is apparently missing, right? And you would think, okay, the Antichrist, oh my goodness. Anyway, what they're trying to do is they're trying to find the Antichrist because they can't fulfill prophecy. We have the four horsemen of the apocalypse coming and all this stuff. And then at the end, they actually show, which I had to cut that part out because they were playing Queen, by the way, Queen Freddie Mercury, who I've covered again. It's another one. I mean, this stuff is just all connected to each other. But they're showing the Antichrist pretty much saving the world. The Antichrist, the one guy says, well, why can't the world doesn't have to end if we work together? And that's exactly what I've been talking about, right? This is one of the reasons they want Christians to be lukewarm, because they believe that on Judgment Day that they can fight against this, that they can fight against prophecy. There's a reason they're constantly telling people the world's going to end, the world's going to end. There's a reason they're constantly telling people about transhumanism, right? Becoming your own superhero, and how superheroes can battle again. This is all stuff to defy and fight against God. I mean, we learn of this in the book of Revelation. And now we're living in a world where everything is inverted and flipped on its head. And I mean, these shows are just one after the other, right? And who ends up becoming the hero? Who ends up becoming the hero? The Antichrist. Who else, right? Oh, the Antichrist is here. The Antichrist now has these powers. The Antichrist he's levitating. So he's coming into his own, right? And of course, they make a joke of how, the bad demon and the angel are going to be together and become friends. And together, if they work together, suddenly they can stop the world from ending with the help of the Antichrist. I mean, really? Are you kidding me? And here come the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Here comes the famine. Here comes all the things that are to come. So, I mean, they're telling you this stuff. They're showing you what biblical prophecy is, and then they're just putting in this fictional side of it, saying, well, let's fight against it. Or the Antichrist isn't really as bad as he seems, right? How many of these shows do we have that glorify Lucifer, glorify the Antichrist, right? We have the Antichrist glorified in American Horror Story. We have the TV show Lucifer, which glorifies Lucifer. Show after show after show with it, like I've been saying, where witches are the protagonists, the devil's the protagonist, the Antichrist the protagonist. Who's the antagonist? well, of course. I mean, we're the antagonists. We're the bad ones because we want the world to end and because we want prophecy to be fulfilled. Right? It's insanity. And I'm sure if you sit down with the director of the film, what do you think he's going to tell you? Well, we look at the Bible as fairy tale. We don't believe in scripture or any of this stuff. We don't believe in any of it. We're only talking about it left and right, up and down, in between. We're only referencing it in every song, every music video. It's just what it is I don't even want to say that it's pure blasphemy because it's utter just nonsense is what it is. Right? Because the fact that they're taking the Antichrist and they're putting him as the figure who is going to save the world here at this time, that Armageddon is here, the end is near. But now maybe that could be stopped because with the help of the Antichrist. I mean, and listen, I know people will see it and they're just going to go, oh, I'm not influenced by that stuff. But this is all, not only is it seed planting, it's a way for them to continue to fictionalize scripture. Right, because everybody watches this stuff. Oh, and by the way, just in case anyone didn't pick it up, I'm glad I almost forgot to say it. I'm glad I just remembered. The demon goes by the name of Crowley, but that must be a coincidence, right? That the demon's name is Crowley. I mean, I need a minute. I can't even deal. Nothing to do with Aleister Crowley, of course, right? I mean, when you learn all this stuff and you see this, oh my gosh. They seek to prevent the coming of the Antichrist. They seek to find the Antichrist, and then there'll be the final battle between heaven and hell, and then you see, Satan rise from the pit at the end, and it's like the Antichrist is looking to fight against him with the help of the angel. Crowley there is looking to help fight. I mean, I'm surprised Crowley wasn't trying to sacrifice the kid. Sorry, Crowley wasn't trying to sacrifice the Antichrist since his name is Crowley. Oh, right, we're not supposed to believe that either. Folks, this is the kind of garbage that they're going to continue to produce day in and day out. And I'm going to keep showing it to you. So if you're somebody who doesn't believe, maybe you should pick up your Bible and start believing. Because they wouldn't be talking about it so much if it wasn't true. Instead of focusing in on the news, this is the funniest criticism that this channel gets, which it gets many, is that I hear other truthers, they talk like their content is so much more important. I don't think anyone's content's more important than anyone else's. But covering the news and covering Donald Trump and covering all these investigations in Russia, you're aware that that's bigger fiction than what you're seeing in these shows, right? Because those are the real actors, and the real truth is being revealed in all this stuff. And the real brainwashing is being done, convincing people that little old Antichrist is, other than the fact that, of course, that the angel and the demon, of course, have to work together, right? Because that's just more of like lukewarm Christianity mindset, where they will convince people like, oh, Satanists and Christians should be best buddies. We should all be pals. Don't be mean to anybody. Don't be hateful. Don't be a bully, right? Like, they literally want us to hold hand in hand with Satanists. People comment, and they're like, I understand when people say pray for Satanists, but at the same time, God gave us free will. A lot of these people made their choice. It doesn't mean I wouldn't forgive them to come back once they repent and they are born again. But this mindset of like being buddies with Satanists, like only lukewarm Christians would be like, hey, I want to be friends with Satanists. Hey, let's work together. Oh, there's a Satanist and me, and we're going to go together on a cancer walk, right? I mean, that's how dumb this world is now, right? We have these, what do they call, breast cancer awareness walks, even though we're aware that there's breast cancer. Why don't you do something about it? Tell people why everyone's getting breast cancer. Yet, everybody's living the philanthropy Masonic lifestyle, so they think that they're doing something impressive by going on a breast cancer awareness walk. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is that a Satanist and a Christian would hold hands, walk one and one together, arm in arm, in a breast cancer awareness walk, because they'd say, well, it's for a good cause, right? Even though the bigger picture is about God and the devil, it's not about any of this other nonsense. This is all stuff that they do to us. So again, this is called The Good Omens TV series on Amazon Prime. So, we see this on Amazon, we see it on Netflix, we see it on Hulu, see it in the movies. I mean, it's everywhere. We see it on YouTube. And it's just more of the same stuff. But they'll come out and they'll tell you that, no, God's not real. Jesus isn't real. Jesus is the only way to salvation, folks. The only way. And what they try to do is they try to mock and make Jesus look like the bad one and Christians look like the bad ones, and make, obviously, the Satanists and the Antichrist look like heroes. It's a joke, but this is prophecy being fulfilled. So another show, no surprise, complete and utter garbage, just all around complete and utter garbage. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families. This is a call for an uprising. We welcome you to today's show and ask those of you who have not subscribed to please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to expose the satanic Illuminati agenda and the ushering in of the Antichrist. Today's show, I want to talk about an article that was passed on to me by a subscriber. I apologize, I do not remember who it was. It was a few days ago. I read the article. I almost vomited on myself. Okay, and normally I will not report on something that's very, very old. Especially because, I try to keep things up to date with what's going on. But this article was written in July 2014. But I want to talk about it because it has significance to today, because we see where society is going. I already did a video talking about how pedophilia is going to be accepted. Okay, we have this trans movement now that everybody has been conditioned into accepting it. 10, 20 years ago, people would have said it's absolutely absurd that a man can say he's a woman and go take a dump in the women's room if he felt like it and get away with it, not get arrested for it. Okay, what is coming next is nudists are going to have rights, and they're going to be allowed to walk around the world naked if they feel like it, because it's their choice and it's their belief. We're going to have to accept it. We're going to have to accept seeing, 50-year-old people walking around naked in front of children, because that's how perverse and sick the world is getting. But I want to talk about pedophilia, because I've been talking about, I did the video about the guy who is coming out saying that they should have rights. They're not really bad people. They tried to make him look like, he ran away from the girl because he was afraid of how he was going to act. And what a hero this sick man is. But this article takes the cake. I've never read anything so disgusting in my life. The title of the article is "Pedophilia is Natural and Normal for Males." Apparently, after the Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris and some of these other guys have been exposed as pedophiles. Apparently, 2 years ago in the summer, there was an event that occurred, an organized event where presentations were made stating how pedophilia was natural and normal, and they had all of these, experts and academic people there talking about the human mind and all of this perversion, trying to pass it off as normal, because that's what's coming next. They're going to convince people that 10-year-olds, if their brain is more mature, if they're smarter than a 20-year-old, why can't they date a 30-year-old man or have sex with one? And the idiots out there are going to be okay with it because they're going to have some celebrity do it, and it's going to just go on and on and on. They're going to just condition, and then people go, all right, whatever, it's going on. It's going on. It's not my business. I got to get back to work. I got to get on my iPhone. I've got to post pictures of my dinner on Facebook, so people can see what I'm up to, because that's all that matters to me, because I'm self-absorbed. And I don't care about the destruction of the world around me, because that's the mindset that we're living with right now. That's how the people around us view the world. As long as they can post their Facebook dinners or whatever they've done that day on Facebook and get some people to pat them on the back and say, ooh, I like it, let me thumbs it up, and ooh, this is wonderful. As long as they can do that, then they don't care about what else is going on around the world. They don't care about, men crapping in women's rooms and these perverts that are allowed to do all these perverse things, getting away with pedophilia, getting away with sex trafficking children, which makes $40 billion a year. All of this stuff, no one cares. And this is the start of it. This article talks about a meeting, a conference held by the University of Cambridge, where they had topics such as liberating the pedophile, talking about how typically 11 to 14-year-olds are the targets for pedophiles, and that this stuff isn't wrong. They had a guy there, who was a multiple child sex offender, a long campaigner for the legislation of sex with children, and former head of the Pedophile Information Exchange. These are people walking around, by the way. The head of the Pedophile Information Exchange, a long-time campaigner for the legislation of sex with children. Anybody got a problem with this other than me? He goes on to say what a wonderful event it was. It's rare, a rare few days when I could feel relatively popular. That's what the guy says. You believe this? The article talks about, the evolution of pedophilia from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to now. It goes on to say the perspective of most people who were contributors at the event was strongly pro-pedophile. I repeat, strongly pro-pedophile. I mean, how is this going on? How is this even allowed to occur? How is this event allowed to occur? Okay, somebody get my Billy Club. I'd like to attend the next one. Pedophiles are told they are seducers and rapists of children. They know their experiences are often loving and tender ones. Do you believe this? They're talking about, we're not harmful, we're not raping these kids. It's a loving type of an event. It's being a pedophile, we're loving and tender. They're told that children are pure and innocent, devoid of sexuality. They know both from their own experiences of childhood and from the children they meet that this is not the case. I mean, they have this guy, going on and on, talking intellectually, using big words, giving reasoning behind it because he has, a degree. Oh, and we're supposed to bow down when somebody has a degree from some university, even though, the entire thing is a network for these Satanists to network with each other, like Harvard and Yale. We're supposed to bow down to anyone that has a prestigious degree. These people are sick. This person goes on to say, in the public mind, pedophile attention is generally assumed to be traumatic and to have lasting and wholly deleterious consequences for the victim. The evidence that we have considered here does not support this view. We need to ask not why are the effects of pedophile action so large, but why so small? In other words, saying that the victims aren't traumatized from this. They don't suffer from trauma-based mind control. They don't suffer from nightmares for the rest of their life. It doesn't mess with their identity as they grow up. These people are so sick and perverse. They're trying to convince people that these children, when they're molested or whatever, that they're also, interested in doing it. That it's not, just the one guy's fault. The children are, partaking in it, and they're not as traumatized as the public leads you to believe. Can you believe the nerve of this? That this event was even held. Cambridge University should be burnt down. They're talking about pedophilia as if it's a lack of understanding from the public. And this is how it starts, folks. This is how it starts. Oh, scientists say this. Ooh, therapists say that. And then the masses go, oh, okay, I guess it's not as bad as they made it out to be. Do you want your child being molested? Huh? Do you want some 40-year-old man sleeping with your 10-year-old son or your 5-year-old daughter? Don't fall for this crap. These people have paper degrees. They're sick, perverse scumbags. One of these guys goes on to say that the prevalence of pedophilia, the majority of men are probably pedophiles and hebephiles. Pedophilic interest is normal and natural in human males. I don't think so, buddy. Okay? I'm a grown man. Not once have I ever thought about that kind of disgusting activity. Okay, men are supposed to be attracted to women. Women are supposed to be attracted to men. This brainwashing, confusing people of their own sexes, this homosexual brainwashing, all of this stuff that we've seen, which we thought was the end, is going to end with this, with pedophilia being a new choice. Oh, we're pro-pedophilia, we're anti. People are going to debate it. They're going to have children go on record and say, oh, they're going to have, children who sound intelligent and sound smart at 10 years old. And they'll say, oh, well, this kid, is skipping 2 years of school because he's so smart and he's 10 years old. And he's, going to talk, he's use big words and sound intellectual. And he's going to say, I want to date, a 30-year-old woman or a 30-year-old man. And people are going to say, well, look, he's smarter than most people. He skipped a few grades. That's how they trick people. Okay, they just absolutely have tricked the masses. And this is what is coming next. Events like this occurring where pedophiles can get together, they can meet, and they can talk about how all men are really pedophiles. What men are you talking about? Because I'm a real man, pal. I'm a real man. I've never once in my life had a pedophilia thought in my mind. Ever. I like women. Most men like women. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how we were created. This perverse, demonic possession that these people are under and convincing other people to accept is getting so sick and so perverse that this is what is to come next. It will happen. I am telling you, it will happen. Unless the trumpets sound first, they're going to pass laws and bills where we need to respect pedophiles. And people are going to say, you know what? It's fine. Unless it happens to their child, they're not going to care about these poor children who are victims to this abuse, this nonstop, never-ending abuse. And then they turn 20 or 30 years old, and they don't know what happened to them. They don't know what's wrong with them because they're suffering from trauma-based mind control. They're just suffering from being victimized by these people and ritually abused. I mean, think about how sick this is. Think about conventions that go on in your town, whether it's a job fair or some type of a convention talking about sci-fi movies, or a convention about who knows what. A wrestling convention where wrestlers go and they talk and give interviews and all this stuff. Think about all the conventions that go on. This is a convention where people showed up. Okay, they had 1 o'clock so and so is going to speak, 2 o'clock so and so is going to speak, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We have all these speakers lined up, all of whom are promoting pedophilia, convincing the audience that pedophilia is natural and normal, and that men are allowed to act on it, or should be allowed to act on it. That all men feel this way. What men out there feel that way that's listening to this channel? I don't know a single man that feels that way. And if I did know a guy that felt that way, I wouldn't know him for very long. I'll tell you that much. Soon they are going to be able to perform these satanic sex acts, these pedophilia rituals that they do in secret and in hiding underground. They're going to be able to perform them in broad daylight and get away with whatever they want. They already get away with whatever they want, but they're going to be able to do it in light. As they always say, as you see the Satanists say in these commercials and these videos, what's in darkness is going to come into light. They're going to take everything out of the woods, out of the shadows, and do it in plain sight. And they've convinced and dumbed down the nation so much that people are going to listen to them and say, oh, this guy's a professor of psychiatry at the University of Toronto. What does he have to say? Well, through my studying and my master's degree, which I wasted $200,000 on, I have found that men are attracted to little boys, and that should be acceptable, and it is not weird, so don't feel weird about it. People go, oh, interesting thought. Meanwhile, the guy should be locked up. He should be clotheslined off the stage and thrown in a jail cell for promoting pedophilia. Pick up Crowley's book on sex magic. All you got to do is read in there. Let me read it to you. Let me read what Crowley says in his book. Okay, Crawley, who Jay-Z wears his shirt, the Beatles have him on their album cover, other celebrities wear his face on their shirt. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. He is promoting sex with children to get the strongest invoking of magic that you can get. The strongest magic to get the strongest spell. He is saying that you need the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. That's what he says. Yet celebrities wear his shirts and nobody cares. Nobody says, who is that guy? Let me look into him. Why is he on the Beatles album cover? Now, he's a disgrace. But they love Crowley, and Crowley's word, do without will be the whole of the law. That's what you're seeing going on. Crowley's works. That's what's going on around us. That's why everybody's allowed to do what they want. Except Christians, of course, they don't want you talking. They want you shut up. They want to shut your mouths. All of us, me, you. They want us to stop. While the transgenders have rights, while the gays have rights, while the nudists will have rights, while the pedophilias are now looking for their rights. And people have to respect it. And then you'll see idiots come along that'll say, let them, you know what I mean? Listen, they have a problem. Well, it's their choice now. It's their choice. Let them live their lives while they're out raping people's kids and seducing 10-year-olds. And people say, well, it's the little boy, the 10-year-old has to make, he's involved too. He can make a choice and a decision there. That's what they're going to say. A 10-year-old or an 8-year-old girl that gets seduced with a candy bar into a pedophile's car. And we're supposed to think it's okay and great. So you get these moronic, sick men with these degrees. They flash the degree in front of your face and say, well, I've got a master's from here or whatever from there. And people automatically give them respect because they say, well, he's smart. I mean, he has a master's degree from Harvard. So he can come out and say pedophilia is okay. And then people go, well, he's smarter than us because he has this degree. Oh, because he was networked into Harvard, because the Satanists network through all these big schools, and that's where they recruit people that aren't a part of the bloodline. Oh, okay. He knows, he's saying pedophilia is okay, so we should go along with it. It's sick. These people should be behind bars for the rest of their lives, convincing the masses into being okay with pedophilia, because that's what is coming next. That is what is coming, unless we put our foot down and stop this moronic crap from going on. It's bad enough with the transgender perversion. Nobody's talking about, grown men going in the women's room as perverts. No. They're just talking about, well, he wants to take a leak in there, so go let him. Nobody's stopping it from happening from the kids because nobody's protecting the children. The children are the ones who are the victims here, innocent kids. And soon, I'm telling you, they are going to make the children. All these kids are so smart; they can make their own choice. It goes both ways. If a 10-year-old decides that he wants to be with a 30-year-old man, he's making his choice now. It's pro-choice, and people will fall for it because they're too busy, caught up in their own lives. So this is what happened. They had an event where they talk about pedophilia being natural and normal for males, and people fall for it. People don't, nobody's protesting, nobody's going, this is ridiculous. This is conditioning for what is to come. You're seeing it now. The other guy came out a couple weeks ago saying, oh, I was in love with a 5-year-old girl, but I ran away from it. Oh, what a nice guy. What a great guy. Ran away from it. This sick pervert. We're supposed to look at him as a good guy because he ran away. Because these people are sick and perverse. And the root of it is Satanism. The root of it is performing these rituals. Just like I read the quote from Crowley's book. It is the root of the perversion. All of these people are in on it. All of these people are performing it. And they want to do it in the light now. They don't want to do it in darkness anymore. It's going to be a society of Satanists running around, doing what they will. Do what thou wilt will be the whole of the law. That is where we are. It's already happening right now. But this is what is to come. I had to do this video. It made me so sick to my stomach to hear these low-life, people on stage giving lectures about the mind and about sexual prowess and the mind says, men just naturally want to have sex with little kids. You sick scum. You lying filth. I don't know a man that wants to have sex with kids, but like I said before, if I do, if I meet one, I'll introduce him to my foot real fast because this stuff needs to stop. It needs to stop. They are out of control. They really, really are. These children need to be protected from these men who are doing this garbage, who are out there tricking the rest of the world into doing what they want, and everybody's falling for it. When is it going to stop? What's it going to take for it to stop? The transgender bathroom thing was just the beginning of what's to come. Just the beginning, if you think that was bad and that bothers you. And these people out there are going to be okay with this because they don't want to fight back. They don't want to sound hateful or like a bigot. They want to do whatever's politically correct because they turned everybody into their own idol. So everybody's on their own social media page promoting themselves, promoting their life. They feel like a celebrity, posting their day-to-day activity and the meals they eat. They've convinced the world into being so politically correct and never to have a voice against anything that people will allow this to happen because they don't want to speak against it, because they don't want to be bullied. They just want to go with what they say because they're afraid of backlash. Well, I'm not afraid of backlash. Bring it on. I will not ever stand for this sickness. I will never stand or allow pedophilia to occur. Not on my watch. And these people better hope I don't ever walk into one of their parties that they have in their elitist mansions that they do these perverse acts at. They better hope I don't walk through the doors. That'll be the worst thing that's ever happened to any of them. I will not stand back and allow children to be subjected to this perversion, to be abused, to be psychologically abused and victimized by these animals. These people are monsters, and the core of it is Satanism. And people refuse to believe that the core of it is Satanism. I'm telling you, the core of it is Satanism. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families. God bless all of these children that continue to be victimized by these monsters. My prayers are with them. May the Holy Spirit come to them and protect them from these monsters, these evil, satanic, demonically possessed scumbags who perform these acts, who pass it off as normal, who say all men feel this way. It's scientifically proven. Not this man. I'll tell you what, I'm a real man. I don't feel that way. I guarantee you nobody who listens to this channel feels that way. And they say all men feel like that. Give me a break, you lying filth. Thank you again for listening. God bless you all. A St. Augustine man tried to bring a replica military rocket grenade launcher onto a plane. This is a picture of that device.
The 5 Action News Jack's Courtney Cole reports it was found inside a check bag at a Pennsylvania airport.
TSA says that St. Augustine man was on his way to Orlando when his bag set off alarms at TSA. But when they opened the bag, they were shocked to find a military-grade rocket-propelled launcher that was about the size of my umbrella here for reference, as well as a grenade. These are pictures taken yesterday and sent to us by our affiliate in Philadelphia. You can see here the grenade launcher is about 3 feet long. TSA says the weapon's barrel, trigger, sights, and the grenade were also inside the bag. After taking a closer look, TSA determined the launcher was not a functioning one, and the grenade itself was a replica. St. Augustine man told TSA he thought the item could be brought on the flight if it was inside a checked bag. The items were confiscated. The St. Augustine man was allowed to continue on to Orlando after the items were confiscated, but tonight TSA wants travelers to know if you bring a weapon or a replica weapon to the airport, you could face fines of up to $13,000.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I want to show you how you can spot fake news here, because some of you might say, well, maybe it's a real story. You know, the guy really put a fake grenade launcher in his suitcase in an airport down in Florida. And then, of course, the same day, it's reported in Newark Airport in New Jersey that a passenger tried to bring an airsoft grenade along with pellets and other items that a passenger attempted to bring through a security checkpoint at Newark Liberty International Airport. This happened on Saturday. The man was headed for London. He voluntarily abandoned the aircraft. Transportation Security Mission agents discovered him. He was allowed to board the flight after the fact. The same goes with this guy with the grenade launcher. Right now, for starters, I don't know how stupid you really have to be to put a grenade launcher, a fake grenade launcher. Like, nothing would click in your head before you would get on the plane going, you know what? I got a fake grenade launcher in my suitcase. That might ring a bell. You know, that might make something ring out. This is clearly repetition in the news, right? The same thing I tried to point out where you see all these stories of sexual harassment, and you see these stories of women, you know, the Me Too movement, where all these celebrities were getting outed one after the other out of nowhere, all at the same time. Stories, you know, where women came forward, they were sexually harassed in 1976, you know, coming forward, people from 1994, people from 2002, right? And all these men, instead of fighting this and saying this is fake, there's no evidence, there's no police report, because there was nothing, right? All they did was bow down, back out of their jobs, take it like, you know, Louis C.K. and Matt Lauer, right? Because this is what the Brotherhood does, right? Okay, this is what the Masons and the controllers don't want you to know about, is the fact that they take their orders to push these agendas. So remember, they serve order out of chaos. Okay? They create the chaos. You might not look at stuff like that and think it's chaos. Now, events like this, it's easy to see repetition, because how ridiculous are both of these stories that these stories are even out there? Right? Oh, they both just happen to happen within 2 or 3 days. So you might say, well, what is the reasoning behind it? Well, number one, they always want you to feel unsafe travel. Okay? But really, this stuff comes down to airport security. It comes back to continuing to up security measures. And in my opinion, which I've said many times over, I've showed you, and, you know, I've documented this before about airports and stuff using retina, you know, testing and all that stuff to get through security instead of all these other methods of passports and stuff. But it's really about the microchip and transhumanism. Okay, as more, and you know, and over time we've seen that TSA has actually gotten worse. I don't know if any of you have traveled lately. I mean, it gets worse and worse. Okay, and instead of creating these events to make people go, oh, you know, now I see why, you know, security is getting worse, and you know, you go from taking off your shoes, and what's next? You take your underwear off too before you go through the metal detector, right? You know, of course, these people, you never see who they are, right? They just end up boarding the plane. Same thing here. Transportation Security, TSA, checked the bag after it triggered an alarm and discovered unassembled parts of the weapon, barrel, trigger, sights, and grenade, according to the press. The St. Augustine, Florida resident was detained by police for questioning. However, officers quickly found that the grenade launcher was not a functioning weapon, but a replica. The man reportedly told officials he thought he could bring it as an item in his checked bag. The TSA said Realistic replicas of firearms may be permitted in checked bags. No weapons of military nature are permitted, right, to be bought on the airplanes and either checked or carry luggage. I'm sure this will, also could possibly bring in new laws of restriction, right, as far as transporting guns and things like that, because obviously there's a massive crackdown on that. But what a coincidence here! This guy just got back on his plane. I mean, I've seen stories before where like people have been thrown off the plane for like being drunk and not even disorderly. But you get a guy who gets on the plane, he's got grenades, whether they're fake or real, and they have enough time to interview the guy and then let him back in the plane. Like, he couldn't miss his flight or anything like that. We got to make sure. I mean, give me a break with this stuff, right? Okay? Always when you look at these stories, look for the repetition in the story. And by the repetition, I mean, look at if it's all happening at the same time. All these small outlets are reporting stories that are very similar to one another. This is how it works, because all these small affiliate outlets will report on these things, right? Why is this even a big deal? Why would this be a story, and why would it happen at the same time? Okay? What did the guy, after they found the grenade launcher, they decided to call the local news and say, oh, somebody brought a replica grenade launcher. Let's do a story on it. Right? And they're like, oh, that's a great story, a great lead-in. If it's not real, then why would you create the fear and try to create the panic? Because there's an agenda behind it, right? So they create the fear, they create the panic. They continue to want to tighten travel restrictions, which is one of the things that they've been working on. They also want to continue to up security, not just in airports, but all over the place. And they also want to continue to get people chipped and change the technology so that people can travel faster. Because remember, they continue to convince people that everything needs to be boom, boom, boom. And trust me, I've always had, a faster kind of mentality. Like I do things quicker. I don't do things at a snail's pace. It bothers me sometimes what people do. But then I just started realizing, well, what is the point? What is the point of driving 10 miles over the speed limit if I'm only going to get there 2 minutes, maybe not even 2 minutes early, right? I mean, there isn't one. And what are you in a rush for anyway, right? But with the way technology is now, everybody is in a rush to get nowhere. We see how society is. They're constantly saying, well, there's not enough time. We got to do things faster. You hear they talk about baseball. One of the oldest, sports or whatever you want to call them, the Sonics sport. How long games take, how they can make it faster, make the NFL faster. Everything they want to be done quicker. And now, obviously, if you travel, I mean, one of the worst possible things is, it isn't even the flight. It's the going through the security check, right? I mean, Newark Airport has, like, security lines that go on for millions of miles. Like, you could go all the way down from one end of the airport to the other. If you've ever flown through Newark before, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Well, they continue, instead of opening new gates and all that stuff, they cram everybody in. They keep 4 gates open, right? People are late for their flights. They go through your bag because you might have left your iPad in it or your iPod, right? This is how they continue to do all these types of crackdowns. Okay, so stories like this, if you start seeing them pop up and you start seeing, consistency in the stories, it means there's an agenda behind it. Now, does that mean that I know what every agenda is and I'm debunking every? No, absolutely not. I want just to see what you guys think. In addition to, more and more restrictions, and obviously, of course, fear of traveling and these types of things. What you guys think about the chipping, as well as any other ideas you might have. But you can see that this is an agenda. This is something that has happened. And this is just 2 stories. By the time I'm finished the video, I might end up finding 3 or 4 stories about this and have to re-edit it and add it in. And this is all within, 3 or 4 days. One person brings a rocket launcher, right? Because, I mean, could you imagine finding somebody, like, if your, like, cousin or a friend of yours went on a plane with a replica, but a replica rocket grenade launcher, and he didn't beforehand go, maybe I should call airport security and find out if there's a problem, because if they find a grenade launcher, I might get arrested, detained, thrown off the plane, attacked, go to jail, pay fines, which might likely happen, although, these people are already gone on the planes, or, I don't even think they released their names, right? John Doe Mason, and John Doe Mason 2. Then they just disappear like a fart in the wind, and that's how they continue to push the agendas across, right? Nobody's there, nobody goes to try, never hear about it again, but it's in the back of your mind because you heard the story on the news, right? It was implanted in your head. Oh, people, grenade launcher on a plane. Oh, someone else is bringing grenades. Oh, yeah, they were replicas, but oh, maybe we need tighter security. Maybe we need to do things to prevent this stuff. As they continue to try to scare people, right, through order out of chaos. So let me know what you think below. I mean, like I was saying, I went off topic. I mean, what would you think if somebody brought a replica rocket grenade? Like, could you be the dumbest person alive for not even thinking that you should check first? Imagine like you were flying with your like friend or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and they were like, "Oh yeah," you know, you got on the plane, and then they pulled you up, and you're like, "What the heck's going on?" And he's like, "I don't know," and they're like, "Excuse me, is one of you have a replica?" Or they didn't even know it was replica at the time, so they're like, "Does one of you have a grenade launcher in your bag?" I mean, give me a break, you know. This is the real fake news, folks. This stuff is a complete and utter. It's comedy. It's circus, but people don't think that. They think all this stuff is real. When they want to think things are fake news, they think it's like, you know, some of the stuff that we talk about, such as not even something like this, just, you know, talking about all the other stuff like chemtrails and vaccinations and stuff. But there's always these stories out there. The way to spot it is to see the repetition of the story, right? And how it's like boom, 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 and it's all happening at once. And you know, it's like, oh, so some idiot bought a fake rocket, a grenade launcher in Florida, and then 2 days prior, some idiot brought a fake grenade on a plane. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. I thank you for listening to today's show. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm curious. God bless all of you and your families. This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This should not come as a major surprise to people out there. I've talked about how soon we'll see pedophilia normalized, all of this stuff. Do without will be the rule of the land, the rule of law. All of this perversion coming to the forefront. Now we have a liberal group, a liberal party, according to the youth branch of Sweden, that is pushing for incest and necrophilia to be legalized. I mean, not surprised, right? We know in Canada that they're allowing bestiality, oral sex with animals is not ruled bestiality. I mean, just completely disgusting things going on. But it's all going to be allowed at some point because they want the world to live as they live. They want the world to be tolerant of everything. Every perversion will be normalized, and they'll tell people that they're born with that perversion. They can't help the sickness inside them. And now we have incest, which is a common theme amongst the elites. Remember, these people inbreed, okay, to keep these powerful bloodlines. Parents marry their own cousins, their own daughters, their own sons. You know, taboo, all this stuff goes on behind closed doors. This is how these people start off as victims of pedophilia and become handlers because they continue to do it. It's a vicious cycle that does not end. And for those of you who are wondering what necrophilia is, necrophilia, to sum it up, is having sex with dead corpses. And I'm not talking about George Bush Sr., who still apparently has a pulse. I'm talking about corpses that are dead, rotting. Apparently there's people out there that like to have sexual intercourse with dead bodies. That's how sick and perverse this world is. Incest between siblings and necrophilia should be legalized, a branch of the Swedish Liberal People's Party has argued. The Stockholm branch of the party's youth wing, LUF, voted on the controversial motion at its annual meeting on Sunday. I mean, the fact that this is even being voted on and discussed is enough to show you how sick this world is. That somebody wouldn't have, laid the person out who walked in the room and said, hey, we're thinking about maybe we want to fight against incest and necrophilia, make it legalized. I mean, somebody should have just clotheslined the person out of the room. But no, they get together and they vote on things like this. These are the things that are really important in the world, folks. We have people dying of starvation in every country. We have people who are victims of the government mind control operations. We have people who are just victimized from satanic ritual abuse. But the things they care about, the things they need to vote on and sit and discuss are disgusting things like this. It called for the repeal of several laws to make consensual sex between brothers and sisters ages over 15, which is still technically pedophilia. We're talking about 15 and up, 15-year-olds, brothers and sisters having sex with each other. Absolutely disturbing stuff. But they're calling for several laws to make consensual sex between brothers and sisters from 15 and over, as well as allowing people to bequeath their bodies for intercourse after death without fearing the perpetrator would be prosecuted. So they want to make sure that they can have sex with some dead corpses, because there's nothing sick about that. I mean, do we have enough mental wards in this country to lock these people up who think like this, who live like this? What do we have these institutions for? Oh, right. These FEMA camps and these mental institutions they have set up are probably going to be for Christians at the end, right? The only people who are thinking rationally